everyone, to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. And warnings in advance, it's been a couple of weeks since we've done one, so we're a little off of our game. I'm sure we're off a little bit more practice. And as you guys can tell, looking not my normal location, although if you're a regular viewer, you've probably seen this particular backdrop. But there will be some other interesting things about our current locale that I'm broadcasting from as we go. But we are back. This is live, and I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching. And with me, pretty much as always, for a solid 5 years now, is our marketing director, one of our other coaches, all around superhuman, Jen Waybor Hart. Good morning, Mrs. Hart. Well, it's morning where you are.
It's not morning where you are.
It
Good
is not
afternoon,
morning where I
Adam.
am. Thank you. And we have a really cool guest for you guys today, a repeat guest who we're actually going to be able, I'm actually going to be able to hear from and get some insight from, some content from, because the first time we had him on this show, Jen had to run it. I was running through an airport in Minneapolis after working with a coaching client on site at his place. And there was there was plenty of cluster going on from that. So, welcome back to the show, Brett Weinstein. How are you, man?
Good. Thank you so much for having me back. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, I had to. Between the nightmare episode we did the first time with you, where I kind of got to hear about what you and Jen were talking about, I absolutely had to bring it back for another. And holy cow, has the real estate market done some weird things in that time frame?
It's a little bit different.
It was really different then. We were all kind of adjusting to what real estate was going to look like during the pandemic. And now we're all really adjusting again to what it looks like post pandemic. And it's a wild ride out there right now.
It's fun. You can't be
It's
bored.
entertaining.
You can't be bored right now. It's great. I mean, there's
True.
always something to be doing. There's always something to be looking into. There's always new news. So
That's true too,
yeah,
especially
it's
where we all live and work in Colorado. We've
absolutely.
had a lot of recent big news again.
Yep, without a question. Our MLS, you name it.
Oof.
It's fun. It's like a horror story. There's always something about to jump out, but you just kind of keep going. It's great.
Um, do we want to talk about that subject? I mean, obviously, I've been getting a lot of, I don't want to say inquiries because people know I'm not, a real estate agent, right? Loan originator. And that I'm not really active with any of the boards anymore after, gosh, I don't know, a decade in leadership at the South Metro Denver Realtor Board. So I've kind of stepped back, lost touch. I'm a member, but not active or participating, that kind of thing. So I don't know a whole lot other than what I'm seeing. I'm reading Inman articles, Housing Wire articles, those kinds of things. But it definitely sounds a little chaotic. I'm not sure we should get into it. Um, it's
Yeah.
a wild. It is wild. Brett's absolutely right. Everybody, if you are busy in real estate and mortgages right now, you are not bored. It is entertaining.
It is. I mean, the MLS, the local affiliations or the local boards are decoupling from the MLS. Large part of that is that the Department of Justice is basically may at some point come after real estate organizations that own MLSs just to decouple them. This is maybe a leap forward before it was necessary, but they felt like it was a necessary time. The PR has been not great, especially with the lack of trust right now, unfortunately, for the National Association of Realtors. The way that this was rolled out has been bumpy as can be. There was another article that was sent out today about more information and who the owner is and how it all looks. And it does raise a lot more questions than maybe it gives answers. And so there are some pretty heated opinions right now that are out there, and I think they run the gambit. I'm a little bit more in the neutral camp. I'm watching the show unfold, and it's painful to watch. But there's we're going to see how it all plays out. It should be interesting. I think that everyone could have done a much better job with this, but I'm not the
Oh,
decision
sure.
maker.
Well, but I think that your stance or attitude or, you know, observatory point, as you're describing it, probably makes a whole lot of sense. And it's certainly not something that's in your control. You didn't craft the deal that will result in the sale of the Denver metropolitan area MLS, the 16th largest in the country, by the way, being sold, or this decoupling. You didn't engineer the plans.
Nope.
You didn't have any control over it, and you really don't. And I think one of the things that we really like about watching you do your work, and of course, this is one of the reasons we want to keep having you on the show, is that you have a job to do. And while these kinds of things are going to force you to make adjustments in how you do it, whether it's the NAR settlement or the decoupling of the realtor boards with the MLS or whatever the DOJ may hand down in years to come, you'll pivot and keep doing your job, which is to represent the people that trust you to help them buy and sell homes. And that's really the big deal. That's the job. That's where the focus needs to lie. And this is true of all of you listening, watching, live or in syndication. This is something that's really important to focus on. It's not your job. You didn't have anything to do with it. You didn't control it. You're merely going to adapt to whatever the results are going to be, and you're going to keep doing the very best you can when it comes to representing your buyers, your sellers, your borrowers, whatever the case may be. I think it's really, really important for everybody to keep their eye on the ball, as it were. And I know that that's a horrible old colloquialism, but I do think that that's something that we really have to be paying really close attention to right now, because the volume of drama that stems from these kinds of things, well, one, it's ignominious. I mean, it's enormous. There is so much. A lot of it because I think there are a lot of people that have a lot of time on their hands that don't have a lot of buyers, sellers, borrowers, whatever the case may be. So we have time for internet drama. And more importantly, I think a lot of the drama is synthetic. It's not realistic. It's not legitimate. And there's no reason to buy into it. So, yeah, I think you guys should all take a little instruction from Brett here. Just watch, adapt, pivot, keep doing what actually is your job. Carve out the synthetic drama because you don't need it, and go be a real estate agent. Go take care of people that need to buy and sell.
Yeah, I'm happy to have a strong opinion if someone wants me to have a strong opinion. If people want me to really dive into something, I can certainly dive into it. And I really don't have an issue with that. But I think that there is something to be said when there is so much noise. There is so many things going on. And I think that I put out quite a few posts on this, but when there is so much noise, there are so many things, there are so many ways that you can have this super strong opinion, be so upset. But there's also a chance for you right now in particular, it's just July 4th. It's a time for us to be around our friends, our family. It's a time for us to network. It's a time for us to do all these really fun things. We're in the midst of summer. And as much as those of us who are parents have plenty of time with our kids, there's a lot more free time and the availability to be outside. And we can focus on all of these things that are really hard, large. We can get very opinionated. Or I really like to be around people. So I'm going to be around people, and somehow that's going to support my business. And my business is going to keep growing. And I'm going to do things that I actually enjoy doing. And I am going to be informed, and I can have an opinion. And I'm probably pretty well informed at this point relative to some of the people that have strong opinions. But my biggest focus,
that's an important piece of the puzzle. Yes, it's true.
I think it's relevant to actually be informed when you're making these hardcore statements. But I think the biggest thing is when things get really tough, the best thing that we can do is, rather than focus on all the hard, terrible things, is to pivot and try and find those pieces that are going to get you up in the morning, that are going to make sure that you're excited. If you love to work out, get back into the gym. If you love to be around people and do happy hours, get back in front of people, do happy hours. If, whatever it might be that just gets you out of bed in the morning, that's where I think it's really important to focus right now, because especially within real estate, it's all about people.
And right, well, let's talk about that. Wait, sure, your topic. What are those things for you? What are the things you like doing that make you happy, support your business, those things you roll out of bed for in the morning?
Absolutely. I mean,
Where does
I roll
Brett
out of,
thrive?
yeah, I roll out of bed for my children because they wake me up. Um, no, but like absolutely the gym. Love me some golf. Love the networking.
Mm,
Love the happy hours. Love being around people. I actually enjoy coming to the office because I get to spend time with people that I like, and that's maybe part of the reason that we have a brokerage here is because we all like each other. But it really is about scheduling more meetings, making sure that I don't become stagnant in a time that it's really easy to become stagnant. Right now and at the end of the year are the two easiest times for us to just be around our family. Everything kind of slows down, and you can certainly slow down with it and focus on your family. And then we can get into debates about politics and you name it.
oh
Or
gosh.
we can pivot and find time to be around our friends, to be around our networks, to have events, to do things like that. And that's really where I'm focused right now. These happy hours are really fun. Going to the golf course has been really great. We just did Putt Shack the other day, which is the LED putting place downtown, and it was absolutely wonderful. And there's all these new, like really cool places to go to and things to do. And that's where I would rather be. And I would rather invite as many people as I can, not to grow my business. And I think that's the important thing is that you're just authentic. Should you always treat it like a business? Of course, but to just spend time around people that you like, because that's where your energy comes from. And if you are going to spend time around those clients or those people or the opinions that you don't really like, you might as well half out the other half of the time to do things that you really do like or love. So that's my two
Yeah, but
cents.
if you can find a way to meld the two of them together, then that's winning.
Absolutely.
What's the old adage? If you find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, I mean that's an absolute lie, but I really respect the saying of it. Um, no, I think that within everything, there are certainly going to be things that we absolutely love, and there's going to be things that we absolutely hate, and that's part of life. But making the best of it and putting yourself into the best situation. And you're right. When I get to go out with people, or when we have clients that become friends, or once they're friends, going and doing all those things with them, it's great. All these people that have kids, we do play dates, we do all these things, and I think that really does make a large scale difference because it re-energizes, it allows you to keep going. And right now, when it feels like you have to duck and cover every other day based on the news, based on all these stories, based on everything that's coming out, I'm going to keep enjoying myself. And lo and behold, over this last weekend, I had 3 referrals, and you know, I didn't ask for them. I didn't push. Just so happened that I was talking to people, and they remembered that who I was and what I do, and they referred me, and it worked.
That's how it's supposed to work.
That's my understanding. I'm not a
Okay.
doctorate, but I think that if you talk to people and you're in front of them, and you are authentic and actually care and respect them, they'll typically return the favor. I'm, again, not a magician, not a doctor of science or magic, but I think that's the way that it works. So here we are.
No, and it's not about, and Jen and I talk about this all the time and have for, well, certainly for the period that we've known each other with all of our coaching clients, with audiences that hear us speak. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And if you continue to do those kinds of things, those right things, spend time with people, be authentic, be transparent, be helpful, be constructive. Actually, I want to come back to that because there is something that shines with you that really resonates with me. Then this is how we build a strict repeat and referral business. Do we have to work? Yes, absolutely. Do we have to make sure we're doing the things that enable us to stay in front of people, right? All of you listening, watching, you need more people consuming more of your content. Now, like what Brett has described thus far, some of that audience is people he's playing golf with. And the content may very well just be one-on-one conversations. Some of it may be talking about kids with other parents at play dates. It's still more people consuming more of his content. If it's social media, and Brett does great social media work, you guys should go follow him, check him out, and see what he's doing, which will bring me back to the previous point when we are doing things that are more en masse that way. We're doing social media, we're doing video, we're doing blogs, we're doing email campaigns, whatever the case may be. We've got to be providing content that's for the greater good. It can't be self-serving, and it shouldn't be because that isn't any fun. It just feels gross and creepy. But we had a far, well, I don't know if it was bigger, but a significant issue for real estate agents coast to coast. Obviously, the topics we've discussed thus far are unique to those in Colorado, in fact, even in the Denver metro. But the NAR settlements were a very big deal. It's going to change the way real estate is done to a degree from here on out. And there were a lot of people hot and ready to voice their opinion, just like what we have going on right now. But Brett, you didn't do that. You spent quite a bit of time watching, observing, gathering data, reading different articles with opposing viewpoints, so on and so forth, and then digested all of that information. And then you went out to your audiences and started sharing, hey, this is what I've learned. This is what I think. This is what we know is fact. And here's what you, as the consumer, as the potential home buyer, home seller, need to know. And it was really cool because so many people were just so hot and heavy to get their opinion out there rather than to absorb and digest and infer and make some more logical assumptions, I guess, some more detailed, some more informed information before they were ready to just jump out there and tell people to either go into a panic or that the earth is flat or that the moon is made of cheese. And you don't do that. You've got to really set focus on making sure that whatever data you're going to disseminate is accurate. It's not really opinionated, that it is for the greater good. You really just want to help people by giving them information to add into their decision-making processes when it comes to buying and selling homes. And I think that that's a really big deal. So obviously we had you on the show last time long before that occurred. And now, of course, with what's gone on in Colorado and what's gone on in real estate and mortgage, I mean, just on and on, so many things being piled up have taken the forefront. But we did kind of miss you in that window with the NAR settlement. So I do want to point that out. So for those of you that are interested in following Brett, go back a little bit in history and watch what he did when it came down to those NAR settlements. And I wouldn't necessarily call his reaction delayed, because he didn't fly off the handle like a lot of you did. So yeah, he took the time to gather info and do research, then felt comfortable giving his audience information that was going to be for their benefit, not for, well, unfortunately, a lot of people behave the way that the media behaved. So we'll just put it that way. But
well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm willing to bet that doing it the way that you do it probably does the kind of things that a real estate agent should be doing if they understand that it is, in fact, a marathon, not a sprint, that you are, in fact, trying to build a strict repeat and referral business. In fact, all of you should be eyeballing a way to build a business that you can eventually walk away from while it still pays you. And if you want to behave the way that CNN or Fox News or MSNBC behave, well, that's different because they're looking for ratings, they're looking for cash, they're looking for the here and now. They basically want to make their sales right then and there. And if they are able to sell by driving panic, then so be it. They did during the pandemic. God, we were all glued to our screens for all of that latter part of 2020, the last 9 months of 2020 and into 2021. That's how they sell their shit. People who are building a practice, a real estate practice for the long term, that are adopting and enveloping that marathon, not a sprint, career, not a job mentality, are doing it differently. This is how we're doing it. Let's share information, good, valid, thought out information that's for the greater good, because we know that that's going to pay dividends in our business in a year and 3 and 5 and 10 and 20, rather than, can we collect a check today? So yeah, there are two types of sales out there, boys and girls. Sales by solving problems, that's what you want to be doing, and sales by manipulation, that's not the one you want to be doing. So that's McDonald's MO. And just by saying that, I know you can all smell the French fries right now. That's sales by manipulation. That's not how we operate in real estate, mortgages, insurance, financial planning, on and on. All right. I'm going to get down off my soapbox now. Tell us what's going on these days with Brett. What are we doing? Obviously, we're doing a lot of networking. We're hanging out with a lot of people. What's your team doing? What are you guys up to? What do you see coming? Give us some good stuff. Give us some insight.
First, I think on McDonald's, I read an article on Business Insider today that described how McDonald's kept trying to do salads and like healthy things, and it just never took off because everyone identifies McDonald's with greasy, disgusting food, and so now they're just going to lean into it, which I think is great. if you're swinging and missing on trying to be healthier, and your audience isn't buying into McDonald's being the place to go for healthy food, so be it. What are we doing? We're staying really busy, and right now, I'd love to say that this last week was a very relaxing week. In reality, it was a work week. And as much as July 4th was a great day and wonderful and so much fun to hang out with my kids and look at fireworks, I was taking phone calls, emails, you name it. We've had four good weeks of rates coming down. I think they bumped a little bit over the last couple of days, or last week. But
actually, it was the week before because we had such a short week on the market.
That's right.
You're right. Last week was spectacular.
Yeah. And so, we're heading into this inflation report right now. And heading into this inflation report on Thursday, if that inflation report comes in at where it's expected or below, it really, with the jobs report, with everything that's been happening, it really does encourage people to look closer and closer into buying a home. What our biggest thing is that there's a lot of people who decided to sell their home. We weren't expecting that. We thought a lot of people weren't going to sell right now unless they absolutely had to. But I think people just got tired, and there's this feeling of stagnation. And so now we have over 10,000 homes on our metro market, which is the most that we've had at the end of a month.
Oh my gosh, in years.
Yeah. So it's been about 11 years. And then suddenly we're in this position where, hey, maybe we will see a quarter point decrease. Maybe we will see rates get closer and closer to the mid to low sixes. And we know with how much suppressed buyer demand there is that every time the rates come down, we see a nationally 5 to 9% jump in loan applications. If we keep seeing this jump in loan applications, if we get another good inflation report, and this is the conversation that we're trying to have consistently, there's so much inventory right now comparative to what we've seen over the last 10 plus years in Colorado. We're in a spot where you can wait until the rates come down to 4% if they ever get to that point, because they're not going to get to 3 and 2 unless the world's ending. But if they get to the 4% or low fives, that's great. And you can wait, but everyone else is waiting with you. So right now is a chance, rates start to come down with a ton of inventory for us to really negotiate and get people into houses. And so we have a lot of buyers that are ready to take advantage of that right now. And we've got some sellers that are taking advantage of, this surge of kind of interest post July 4th. And we're starting to see properties come off the market. We're starting to see a lot of people jumping into the market. And you're right, it's a marathon, not a sprint, which means that this has been consistent. I would love to tell you that the $3 million client came because I put a really great article out somewhere. That's crap. It's because I've been following up with people for the last 2 years and got a referral. It's not because I did something amazing today. It happens occasionally where stuff just falls into your lap, but 9 times out of 10, it's because you've been planting seeds, you've been talking to people, communicating, staying authentic, doing your job, and it just works. And so for right now, for whatever reason, as we're heading into what could be a pretty pivotal inflation report, we have a lot of people that are very interested in moving forward right now. And we're trying to help them to take advantage of this market because we want them to be first in as equity starts to go up and as inventory starts to drop, as opposed to waiting until inventory has come down, prices have gone up further, and suddenly it's unbelievably competitive. And if rates keep going, or if inflation keeps going at the rate that it is, 2025 could be a very different market than it could be the market, I guess, we were expecting at the beginning of 2024 with that 3 to 6 rate drops. Who the hell knows, though, because it's so week to week, day to day. My whole goal right now, and I think my team's goal, is just to make sure that people stay informed, that they understand the pros and the cons of buying or selling, that they understand what could happen if the inflation report comes in high, what could happen if it comes in low, what does this mean directly to them, to the rental market, you name it. But just by having those consistent conversations, we see business consistently grow. And that has been what we have been doing, and it works. I mean, there's nothing gimmicky. It's just, here's my beliefs. I could be absolutely wrong. I do not have a crystal ball. But from my experience, from all of the research that I've been doing, here's where we're at. And the nice thing is when you do this every single week, every single month, and you keep looking at things, you start to see trends and you start to have a really valid opinion as opposed to, oh, let me check the data once every 4 months and then I'll give you my update. No, you like being consistently in it, I think gives a lot more validity to what you have to say, and never guaranteeing, but always trying to be a part of the conversation is really important for us.
Oh, absolutely. Being part of the conversation when it circumnavigates real estate has got to be one of those big goals.
Yep, absolutely.
That's absolutely got to be something that everybody should have as one of those tools in the back of their mind, as something that I need to be doing every day, eyes open, eyes closed, for the remainder of my career. There are a handful of those, but that's certainly one of them if you're in the real estate business. I'm really fascinated by how big, I know that sounds crazy, since it's less than a third of what we would consider healthy in the Denver metro, or balanced, I guess I should say, at 10,000 listings, which, yes, is huge. That's an enormous number, and again, the biggest we've had in over a decade. It seems to me that we finally have a mental environment where we are no longer afraid of these golden handcuffs, as we've been referring to them, that I'm not going to sell my house because I have a 2.5% mortgage. Those are golden handcuffs. And it does seem that people are finally breaking free of those shackles and understanding that they're really not handcuffed.
Yeah, and I think there was also a period from February, March onwards to within the last month where it really felt like nothing was going to change. And that may have been it for a lot of people. Whereas today, if on Thursday there is a very low inflation report, I think the assumption that the market will have, the assumption that we will have, is that things are going to change, and are going to change fairly substantially if inflation comes in low. And I think that that may change the narrative. I think that if we really believed that it was going to be 3 to 6, rate reductions throughout the year by the Fed, maybe people would have waited to get closer to where they wanted to be with those golden handcuffs. But when it just felt like nothing was going to happen, and then all of a sudden 3-4 reports in a row feel decent, I think the stagnation kind of goes away and people just jumped into the market. I got to say, though, we were not expecting to see 10,000 homes right now. But I can say, if we do see rates at 6.5 or lower, you're going to see that drop to 7,000 in a month. Then you'll see it drop to 5.
And we'll go back to 5.
3.
Yep.
And it. What people don't understand with all of this is it can go up really quickly and it can come down really quickly. And we've seen that. And there is so much suppressed buyer demand. When we're talking about that this is the most expensive that it's been to buy a house, it's not that it's the highest prices and the highest rates. It's just the combination of prices and rates right now. It's going to become more expensive to buy a house, even if rates go down, because prices could go up substantially. And there's so many pieces that we're juggling right now. And so for people to sit on the sidelines and not to understand what's actually happening within this market is really tough to watch. And so, we'll see. But this market could be turning very quickly. And if it does, it's going to be nuts. And I would hope that doesn't happen immediately, but who the hell knows? I don't have a crystal ball.
I do, but it's in the shop.
That's fair. I understand. That's where I tried to keep mine.
I've been waiting on parts for years, since the pandemic, right?
Kids broke mine.
The kids broke mine.
They did.
Well, they are the reason we can't have nice things.
No, my wife would tell you that that's me, but that's okay. Neither here nor there. I don't think it's a relevant factoid for this conversation. It's fine.
Okay, this is all fine. Oh, well, Brett, thank you. This has been, I'm so glad that I was able to do this again and participate in this one. And let's certainly do another if you're up for it, because I do think as these cycles move, we'll have more and more logical, researched input from you that, well, we're just not going to get from a lot of people that feel pressured by the panic button.
Well, I really appreciate
human
that.
nature.
The last thing I have is, there's going to be great news. There's going to be terrible news. Things are going to be wonderful. Things are going to be terrible. Shit happens. That's life. Best thing that we can do is try and figure out what is something that we can do that we love. What is something that we can do to improve ourselves and keep moving ourselves forward, because that's how we win. That's how we do better. That's how we succeed in our careers. That's how we succeed in life. shit happens. Be ready for it. Be ready to move, pivot. That's what I got.
Yeah, I think that's true. Wow. Jen, we didn't even really let you get a word in edgewise today. I'm sorry.
Shocking.
Oh,
Absolutely
ouch. All right. Well, the floor is yours, Jen. What are we up to these days? How did
Well,
social
we're kind
media
of
day
in
go?
our interim. Yeah. Oh yeah, we haven't had a show since social media day.
Right?
A big thank you. I actually got the photos back from our photographer sponsor last night, Mandy Penn. So big thank you to Mandy. I'll be sharing some of those on social today. But yeah, thank you to everybody who came out to social media day. It was an almost all female audience and speakers, which was very different. Adam was the exception, and as far as audience, Josh and Adam were the exception. But
Is that
Angie
true?
had us up. Yeah. Oh,
Josh and I
Brett was
were the
there for a
only.
little bit in the morning. It was
Oh,
almost
yeah.
all women this year, which was
Wow.
really cool.
Cool.
Um, and we had a lot of new faces, a lot of people that you and I did not know before social media day, which was really cool. But it was a great day. So thank you to all of our speakers, our sponsors. And yeah, I had a great time. That event's always a
Cool.
blast.
It is.
Yeah. But we're in this little interim, but before long, we'll be talking about Mile High Mastermind, probably next week, which will be the last weekend in September, which I was just doing the math while you guys were talking, and, we're 11 weeks away from Mile High Mastermind, something like that. So be on the lookout for all of that info. But if you want to learn more about what we do at Just the Tips Coaching, you can head over to justthetipscoaching.com. You can find past episodes of the show, our weekly little tip, book time for coaching, all the things on justthetipscoaching.com.
I would normally flash a copy of my book, but I don't have one. Okay, so truth be told, I met a couple of car salespeople, loose definition. These two partners own 10 car dealerships in upstate New York. And they were traveling down here for their beach vacation. And we met at a layover in Charlotte. And we, well, it was very interesting because we obviously feel very differently when it comes to the typical social and political climate that goes on in the Carolinas. And we may have vocalized that some, maybe even a little louder than we should have in such public setting. But yeah, we had such an amazing conversation off the cuff. His cell phone was dying. I yanked a backup battery out of my bag and handed it to him while we were sitting waiting for the flight. And yeah, we just hit it off. So the 2 copies of my book that I normally carry went to these 2 partners that own a bunch of car dealerships and have a bunch of salespeople that could probably use a little guidance. So not able to do that today, but you can get that at justthetipscoaching.com. Brett, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know carving out this kind of time on a Monday morning, or at least it's Monday in Denver, is not an easy task, and I do so appreciate it and you.
Absolutely.
I will never be able to verbalize that appropriately. And for the rest of you that are listening or watching live or in syndication, most of the time, yes, we did take a couple of weeks off, but most of the time you can catch us live on our video cast on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube on Monday mornings at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 Pacific. And the podcast then drops on Amazon, Spotify, and Apple on Wednesdays. And you can check us out there as well. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. And Brett, we love you.
Appreciate you so much.
We'll talk soon.